For June the 6th, 2024, we talk about Arctic eggs, speed freaks, Sonar Shock, and much more. Welcome to Level 503. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah. Not everybody. Jala's not here. But, folks who were here last week, welcome back. Same roster this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, no use hemming and hawing. Who did something cool this past week?
So I actually went down to a goth night in Birmingham, which was a lot of fun. Just, a bunch of DJs at a club called the Saturn. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. People, dressed up, like they're from the Crow and doing a dance.
Were there a lot of rings?
Many rings.
I'm kind of disappointed. I was hoping you would be like, I went to a goth night and became their squire, and we went on an epic quest.
Yeah.
I myself was knighted at the end of it as well.
I don't think the Goths had a system of patronage like that. I think that it was more of a, just a tribal kind of thing.
It's the goth knights and the emo serfs.
It's actually trial by poetry.
Well, that's cool. I've only been to one goth night thing. It must have been the first time I went to Portland that we had a meetup. It was a meetup at a place in Portland called the Lovecraft Bar.
Oh,
chosen, because it's got all the spooky decor, makes sense. It was a neat bar, but the night that we happened to choose was also goth night.
Okay.
Or more so goth night than it actually was. And I think there was also like a goth wedding happening at the same time.
Oh my.
So you had this like this crazy stratification where there are people who are completely committed to the aesthetic in 4/5 of the bar. And then up on kind of like this kind of cordoned off raised section over toward the wall, you had the rest, which were just general purpose nerds. Not fitting in at all, very unaware of what was going to happen, and it was rad. I got a little bit sick from inhaling so much smoke juice.
Oh yeah, that would be a thing.
But yeah, it was cool. I was about to say people watching, but you don't necessarily see a lot of people in all the smoke juice.
Well, it's like, some bars, the aesthetic is like, ooh, there's an aquarium built into the wall, and it was like, we have a nerd corner. You can see fishes out of water, so to speak, at any point.
Oh man, well that's fun. Dennis, how about you? What you been up to?
Man, I just had a crazy experience today. I went hiking through the woods of a park that I grew up next to.
Okay, and
this is a place I hung out, multiple times a week. It was walking distance from my house, and it's summer, took the kids to a park, and I was like, oh, hey, let's go to this place that, I used to hang out when I was your age. Man, I'm close to where I grew up as a child, so I frequently go to the same places that I knew when I was a kid. And everything's evolved, right? Like, even my house, the rooms are laid out different and the decor is different. And, I kind of started my life on the very edge of suburbia and got kind of swallowed by it as I grew up. So, the number of chain restaurants around me, or around my childhood home now is vastly increased. Everything's more built up. But I guess I found the one corner of the world that did not change an inch on this hike. Just down to like, we kind of hiked down into the woods, and it's a creek that runs through the middle of it. And so you kind of get down there and you walk along the creek, and just being like, oh yeah, I remember at this point in the creek, you got to do this, or at this point in the creek, this happens. And a place I have not thought about or visited in years. And certainly like not actually like explored like I did since childhood. Being that untouched was weird. And just very, very like cool, but also a little bit eerie at the same time. It's like, why isn't time moving on this place?
Yeah.
I feel like
mean,
something
that's
should
where
be different.
the elves protect.
I guess I found it. Yeah. I know where to go, in the event of a nuclear, disaster. An apocalypse. Cincinnati is already 5 years behind, and I found the spot in Cincinnati that is 30 years behind. So
Yeah. Just,
we're
it's
good.
just a place you can go that has kind of the endless situation going on. Yeah.
But yeah, I to bring it, I guess, make it relevant to games somewhat, is it got me thinking about how like even games these days, they get patched, they get updated. You go back to play an old game and it's like, well, there's a remake out. I should, I'll play that version instead. And so those moments where it's like, yeah, this is truly unchanged, are fewer and fewer in all sorts of places in my life. But found one in the real world and got to share it with my kids, which was fun.
How did they like it? Was it like underwhelming to them? Like, hey, Dad, all this shit's old.
They started out skeptical.
Okay.
So I was like, there's a playground and then there's a creek. You guys want to play in the creek? And they're like, well, we'll probably just do the playground. But then they got down there and they're
Dennis,
like,
I'm so sorry about your kids. Oh my God. The notion of a creek does not immediately,
Yeah, no, they got there and got to the creek and they're like, oh my God, like there are rocks in the water and some are above it and some are below it. And we can throw rocks into the water and run along it. And so
maybe there is a lizard or a frog.
yes. Oh yes. And so many fucking bugs, but that's another topic.
Were these the like water striders?
There were some water striders, but it was more just like that swarm where you feel like if you breathe in too hard, you're going to get 3 or 4 in your lungs. Just persistent everywhere. But yeah, so they at the end of the day, or at the end of our time there, they're like, we gotta come back. Their big thing was they were building bridges, so just dropping large rocks into the water to make pathways across where there weren't before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I remember we used to down in Mohican would basically put together like rapids for the canoers.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I might be going to Mohican this coming weekend. Actually,
nice.
Yeah.
Do you know just like camping, that sort of thing, or doing some hiking?
Possibly some like kayaking.
Nice, that's really cool.
Yeah, so we'll see. The plan might fall through. Don't know. But I'm looking forward to that. Creeks rule. Love creeks.
Creeks are the best.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be returning to further pave our way through the wilderness there.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, wonderful thing to be able
Pro
to share with
tip,
your kids.
please do not pave the wilderness.
Well, no, yeah. Drop stones and use them like pavers, the wilderness?
Maybe make yourself a little path. Yeah.
Ish? Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, how about you?
I got pretty much nothing. It was a very normal week and uneventful. I think the only changes were external. Since Pride Week started, a lot more people are out and about in the neighborhood celebrating, so that was cool to see.
Fantastic.
But other than that, it was just a normal week.
Yeah, pretty much the same here. Like nothing that just a bunch of personal stuff. Like went to my niece had her graduation party, and but that was just a bunch of work. Is what that was. Like,
Did you have to do the setup teardown or?
I didn't so much do setup. I did a little bit of teardown. They had it pretty much handled with the setup. It was a lot of running, a lot of making sure that food stayed full, stuff like that. Chafing dishes and stuff like that. Because my mom tends to go all out with food. Had a whole nice big setup, and just keeping stuff full and taking out trash and stuff.
I forgot about that whole stage of life where everybody has graduation parties, like each individual student, and you just kind of go to all your friends.
Yes. Yeah. Moxie, I remember yours. It was in your family's backyard, and you had Euros, I think, from was it Athens? I think the restaurant there, and your childhood like go kart in the back with the little course. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, so I grew up different place, same neighborhood, but like just in the middle of the woods, and my father and I like cut a go-kart course through the woods and then got a go-kart, and we still had it. So my father like riding lawnmower a path through some of the like weeds in kind of the back lot. Yeah,
badass.
So your niece, what did you guys have for food?
Oh, it was a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't eat, honestly. Like it was a lot of mayonnaise-based salads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, chicken salad, egg salad, pasta salad, just a bunch of stuff. It was like, it's not for me. There were some like deli meat sliders that we made that ended up being pretty good, and then various dessert kind of things, cookies and cupcakes and stuff. So
I want someone to do some sort of scholarly study on why are all sandwiches better in slider form.
It has to be something about surface area.
I could see that.
Yeah. I know. I just if you see somebody like picking up a sandwich the size of their head, where's that going? What's your jaw looking like? Mm-hmm. That's not.
All you can think is about the logistics of like, if I need to set this down, it's game over.
No, what if I get halfway through a bite and like I have to disengage? Like, what's going on? Yeah. No, I definitely prefer I like a slider. Mostly because portions. It's easier to do your portions on it.
True.
Yeah. So that's all for me. Nothing super crazy. Getting into just weird summer times. That's the last like big event I can think of. So. Yeah,
I mean, not that you have to be specific. Do you have any other, in terms of like nieces or cousins or stuff like that, people that are still in school proper?
I've got like a step niece who is in high school, and I've got two nephews that are in elementary school and stuff right now. So it's pretty far away. I'm not especially close with them though. So it's not going to be a thing where I have to be implicated in the execution of it. Me being a busy little worker was more so like A, to avoid a lot of conversation, and B, to make sure everything went smoothly because I wasn't there for like cutting up stuff for prep and things, and I wanted my niece, who was very instrumental in planning stuff, to not have to worry about any of that. So it's not going to be it's not a similar situation for those other relatives.
So are we at the age yet where in those type of events we're one of the old people?
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not the olds. Like there's the table of gray hairs or whatever. But definitely at that kind of event, I felt like I was just part of the wallpaper. Mm-hmm. Like no part of it was for me, other than being there to support my niece. So.
So this actually touches on the other thing I did this week, which is going to sound like I hugely buried the lead. Jen and I went to a music festival, Railbird in Lexington. It was super cool, but it was very much a We Are the Olds situation.
Yeah.
And we had general admission tickets, and so kind of like camped out at the stage that we wanted to be at for the Night's Act. We're in the same place for probably 6 hours in the rain. It was a nasty weather-wise day out. Temperature, we were all right. But it rained on us constantly. But it was one of those things where like, all these people around, we kind of started to get to know. And it was like, one girl is 17 and they're with her mom for her first ever concert. And Jen's like coaching her through like, oh yeah, well here's what you can expect and this and that. And like, there's a dude behind us complaining about like, oh, why is XYZ happening? And I'm turning around being like, just calm down. It'll fill in and it'll all be fine. It's like, oh wait, we are the seasoned concert goers, spreading our wisdom.
It's nice to be useful.
It was, I guess we took on a grandfatherly and grandmotherly role to the crowd.
The best you can hope for is cool aunt or uncle. That's but
Yeah, it was a good time.
Going back to my previous thing, in the like at the goth events, the preferred term is elder goths.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty at terms with aging. It's fine. No, I never felt especially young anyway. It's hard to be too concerned about it.
I think it hit me like a decade ago. I went to a Vampire Weekend concert, and I was like the oldest person there, and I'm like,
yeah, maybe.
So I've had a while to cope with it.
A lot of the concerts that I've gone to, stuff like I don't know, Ockerville River or like the Mountain Goats. Pretty much everybody there was the same cohort as me. So like it wasn't a lot of like especially youthful kind of people. It was like just a bunch of early mid-30s folks who happened to catch on to this music at about the same time and aged along with it. And that's nice. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of banter. And I think we should talk about video games next. How do people feel about that?
If we must.
Okay. To do that, we should do the regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss, and we can get started with... The Grind. The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the last period of time or so. Who has something new?
I do.
Okay.
I can only talk about half of my new things, though.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
I'll just say a name that I got invited to the Deadlock open beta, but they ask you to not talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I do not.
Which is fine.
Okay. Yes. The new Valve thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If people are curious about it, you can go online and see all about it. I think it's kind of pretty well reported at this point. They're not so aggressive as that they're like taking it down and stuff, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But to dovetail off of that, I played another thing that's early right now. This was upon friends' recommendations for like a multiplayer night, but it is a game called Speed Freaks in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Oh, that looks so cool.
It is interesting, and it has potential. The veneer on it is not my jammy jam, but to tell you what this is like a racing game, kind of, but it's also... there's a game that I reference all the time. It's like this Star Wars multiplayer game where it's like you do base control takeovers, and you're kind of like always...
Battlefront, like the old ones with...
It's different than Battlefront. I think it's like the Clone Wars. It's a multiplayer version, but it's similar to that style.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a precursor to like MOBA games. This is kind of like that. The idea is it's two teams on opposite sides of the field. You pick your car, and you have these like fast, speedy cars with different weapon loadouts, and then there's one tank that a person's in that's extremely slow moving but extremely deadly. It can kind of like it can kill people if they get near it, pretty much. And then there's a random bomb placed on the middle of the field, and if you pick that up, you want to try and run it into the giant tank of the opposing team and then blow it up near them.
Okay.
And then eventually one team wins. I think there's like, giant hit points that each of these giant tanks have. And all it is just that multiplayer experience. And I think it's like maybe 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. It's an open beta, at least it was last week. The styling of this is it's like all orcs, and it's all like kind of that kiddie, like dumb, like misspelling everything, and we're like dumb and cute type aesthetic. So wasn't really
football hooligans.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
The blurb on Steam is blaze into high octane mayhem of clashing speed mobs. Yes. Yeah.
You really got to get past that aesthetic for me, at least. But
most important things though. Do the red ones go faster?
Ooh, I don't know about that. I think there's a red team and a blue team, and I think they're evenly paced. And there's different colored cars that you can pick, but I think the speed is more on like the style of the car as opposed to the color. So I don't think they color coded it.
Unacceptable.
Huge missed opportunity.
Yeah,
but
unacceptable.
I was gonna say I'm not paying attention to this, or I don't know any of the lore of this stuff, so it could have gone over my head and it could be there. So I'm not the best reporter for it.
In the lore, the orcs are latently psionic, and so if like canonically none of their machines actually work, they just run because they all believe they do.
Oh.
And so, since all of the orcs believe that red cars are faster, they are.
Red cars are faster. Okay. That might be the case. There is like some variability over like what cars you can pick. And I don't know if any of this will be in the final game or not. But you basically have slow, tankier cars, and then really fast but don't deal a lot of damage type cars. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of pick whichever loadout you want, and it's pretty open-ended. You can talk with your team and try and figure out a good combination of loadouts if you want to go that route. But obviously it's like the ones that can go faster are kind of made for picking up the bomb and trying to get it to the enemy's tank and blow them up. Whereas like the bigger tanks that you can pick, that's not the biggest tank or whatever, those take a while to get to the heart of the battle, and kind of where people are going and the map changes based on who has the bomb, and you can kind of kite people with the bomb if you have it, and so kind of where your focus is kind of varies, kind of similar to like Rocket League, where like the ball kind of bounces around the field and that kind of changes where people are going.
I'm getting a lot of like Rocket League mixed with Twisted Metal off of this.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of hard to pin down the genre. It is kind of unique with what it's doing. So that's kind of what interests me about it. And other than that, it's mostly like this car play that you have. There's two different types of boosts they have. There's just like a you go faster, like press a button, you go faster, but it'll drain and recharge on its own, like kind of similar to Rocket League. And then they have a different boost that will shoot in whatever direction the camera is looking, not necessarily which way your car is facing, which makes for some interesting gameplay, because it's like you can double back really quickly if your camera's facing the other way. So like say someone's behind you, you can use this boost to go in reverse essentially. So it's kind of almost like some Top Gun type mechanics where you're trying to like be behind the other person and like shoot them down. So there's some interesting things you can do with that, but it is kind of clunky. So it's like, I don't know if that's going to be in the final game or not.
I see an attack where a missile is shot and one of the orcs is riding it like Slim Pickens.
I had not witnessed that personally, but I would totally believe that that's in there. It's fitting with the aesthetic. So yeah, anyway, it's an open beta right now. I don't even think you need an invite. I think you can just download it and play it. And I believe, and it's on Steam. So, like have at it if you're looking for a new multiplayer experience. Not really evaluating it or anything, just because it was like only one map that we played. So, it was just kind of felt like a demo, but but it is interesting. It is a new type of game kind of. So, or at least a nice blend of pre-existing games.
There's a whole ecosystem of Warhammer related stuff that doesn't bubble up in my algorithms, and I don't necessarily see on like front pages of stuff, but you'll just hear, oh, there's a new Warhammer game out, and it is not what you would expect from anything.
That could mean literally anything.
It actually doesn't tell me.
Because like I know, like for example, Bolt Gun is just straight up a boomer shooter.
The last, like the one that stuck out to me is like, okay, this actually might be something I really want to dig into, was the Rogue Trader game.
Oh yeah, that's almost like my understanding at least is very like Baldur's Gate like.
Yeah, tactical combat, and then you're doing a bunch of, it's the Warhammer, just a cartoonish amorality kind of thing.
The other one that seems pretty cool is the Total War Warhammer, just because like it seems like that's the main Total War game that's just completely untethered from reality. So there's dramatically, like there's a faction that's entirely built around the assumption that you'll have massive friendly fire, for example.
Yeah, I just there's just a bunch of stuff, and like I don't know, it kind of feels like just I don't haven't gone in that part of the house lately. I wonder what kind of cobwebs there are. Non-derogatory, right? Just something like this pops up. You'll hear something about like grenade nuns. They're nuns who throw grenades.
The most recent thing I've heard on that front is there are now officially female space marines just to piss off the misogynists.
Yeah, that bubbled up to me as the fucking Gamergate 2.0 people getting real upset about it. And then trying to say, this other game that is aesthetically kind of similar to it, that is the based one you need to go to, guys. That's the total Catholic, no women allowed thing. And they went over and like turns out it's made by a bunch of anarchist kind of people. and they started like booting at all of these fascists who kept running over from their Discord and like just making them cry like, I was just trying to talk. I'm just asking questions.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh.
Outside of those two games, I did continue playing Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Okay.
I do have a small update there. It gets super tedious in the back half.
Oh no, that's too bad.
Just lots of crisscrossing kind of stuff?
Well, it's mostly because it's like there will be times where it's like you have maybe like 5 threads and you're pretty confident that 3 of them you can't get to before one of the other 2. And then, maybe you'll figure out whatever the one path forward is. But yeah, you kind of get bottlenecked a couple points in the end. And then beyond that, there's also just a lot of like tedium in the back half where, without spoiling anything, I will say there are a lot of mechanics and puzzles surrounding the number 9, and all of those are very tedious because you have to do this thing 9 times for each of these like iterations of this puzzle. And you could, it's very kind of clear what the pattern is, and it's like fun to do the first few times. But doing it that many times kind of gets boring and repetitive, and there's like a bit of friction on it.
Too much execution.
Yeah, that would probably kill it for me. Like, that's even, the reason if I play a puzzle game, I never play, like, action-y puzzle games, because I can't even, like, once I figured out how to do the platform segment, I have no desire to actually do the platforming. Mm-hmm. So, like, having to do something 9 times, that would almost be a deal breaker.
On WoF, we call that wanting to hit the I get it button.
Yeah, yep.
And I think one other complaint, too, is, and without spoiling any of the context around it, just vaguely speaking about a mechanic, there's one mechanic that tries to quiz you on, like, all the documents that you've gotten up to that point on the game. But it will do this, like, repeatedly. And it does it at least in a way where you can kind of opt in and opt out of it. It doesn't like force restart you if you're wrong about anything. But it does require you to either go through all the documents you have, or even if you know what the answer might be, it might be somewhere else in the game. And so it requires like backtracking to get there.
Yeah.
Or you could do what I do is just like pop open a wiki and like figure out like the answers for the ones that you don't want to look up. And then, or it'll tell you like which documents to look in for the ones that you do. And so like that's a little bit disappointing as well, because it's like, I want to feel like somebody, like, and again, I shouldn't compare every game to The Witness, but I kind of do. Like, I want to feel smart with the puzzles that I solve. I don't want to like have like a homework assignment necessarily, but this has a hard time kind of straddling that, because like I do like writing down like facts in a notebook that I have and then looking those up later and solving a puzzle. And so kind of like walking that tightrope and like making you feel like a detective and not making you feel like you're doing homework is a challenging game design problem that they need to solve, and I don't think they quite aced it. But
did they do anything where the thing that they're asking you forces you to recontextualize the information or the way it is presented in a way?
Let me think about that. Not really. It's more like you see a lot of setups. The setups are locks of some kind. and then the payoffs are figuring out what that is. But there's not a lot of like, oh, I didn't know that this, all of the, like, for example, I'm going to spoil a board game from like a decade ago.
Okay.
There's a board game called Seafall, or maybe I shouldn't have even said that, but anyway. And like, it's a legacy game. You have people that join your crew, and like, they're represented by cards, and like, it's this like ship sailing and getting goods and exploring type game or whatever. And there's a moment, maybe 2/3 of the way through the game, where you open a box and it's a UV light, and it says, there's a cult, and some of your members of your party are going to be in this cult, some of them aren't. And there's a way you can interrogate them in the game, and what that is turning on the UV light and shining it on them, and then there's like a pattern that's revealed on some of these characters, and it's like, oh my god, like, it recontextualizes all these people who had experiences with this entire game. Like, that's an amazing feeling. This doesn't do any of that in the game. So yeah, as a to use that as like a reference point, this doesn't really do anything like that. It is a lot of like organizing facts and then finding out how to apply them, but it's not a lot of like aha moments or surprise moments, unfortunately.
So when do you get the ability to shoot people with lasers from your eyes?
I have not gotten it yet, and I think I'm like between 70 and 80% done with the game, so
not sure how I feel about that.
It could be the boss battle or something like that, as they make good on the laser eyes part of the game. But yeah, that said, I mean, I will say what this game does do well is having a variety of combination puzzles, because that's the entirety of the game. And it doesn't feel stale with that. They do a good job of like differentiating them and representing them in different ways. For example, it's like there's Roman numeral like combination locks. There's locks where it's open entry, where they just give you the full like text on like a keyboard, for example, and you have to put it in case sensitive and it will answer if it's right or not. Or there's like ones that are more like limited options, like you have a block and you're turning into the right angle. They do a good job of having differentiated experiences with that, and they do a good job of making it expressive, where it's like it's kind of artistically done, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of cool theming that's like similar in like a Resident Evil game, for example.
Yeah.
Like in Resident Evil 2, where it's like you have keys that have like suits on each of them. They do a good job of styling like that in this game. So I do want to compliment it for that. And it's not to say this, I wouldn't even not recommend this game. I would just have a word of caution and say it gets a little bit tedious in the back half.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, sorry it ran out of juice for you.
Yeah, I still want to finish it out, I think. Even though, yeah, so I'll probably do that in the next week or two. But yeah, anyway.
Nice. Yeah, so you had Speed Freaks and Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I have something new. I have two new things, actually.
All right.
Two things that I streamed. One of which was a real big disappointment, and the other one was weird.
I know this one.
Yeah. I'll get the disappointment out of the way first. I also think it's the more recent release. I attempted to stream a game called Sonar Shock. Now, Sonar Shock, the kind of pitch for it makes it sound like it's going to be really, really good. What this is doing is it is attempting to be a spiritual successor to, very specifically, the first System Shock game. At that level of technology, kind of using Doom controls, but also kind of having like a vague like point and click adventure game kind of aspect to it, while also being kind of survival horror-y. Whereas System Shock is on a space station where things have gone terribly wrong, this is set on kind of a gigantic Soviet submarine where stuff has happened and there are monsters about, and the order among the crew is breaking down. Yeah. So all of that sounds like it's going to be really good. Even the kind of throwback, like if you look at videos of this being played, the enemies are, kind of sprites in this 3D space, kind of similar to like a kind of a Doom presentation. Your cursor is not like the reticle at the center of the screen. Like you're like free moving your cursor at the same time that you're doing Doom controls around, to get around. All this was just the stuff that I was kind of down for because, like, I don't know, that is an era that is not thrown back to very much. We had just done Realms of the Haunting, which is very similar to this. We had just done that on Watch Out for Fireballs, so was game, right? Fired it up. It's one of the most hostile games I've ever played. In terms of, I don't know how people are expected to beat this. I only made it about like an hour and 15 minutes in before I realized, oh, this is too much. But like, after I got through the little tutorial, like basically I did everything up to when monsters start showing up. And then, well, first I died, and there were this game doesn't autosave at all. It's limited saves. Like you can only save for as many like discs as you pick up. That's an option you can turn off, but like it's meant to be real. So I played for like 40 minutes and then lost all of that progress.
Oh no!
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, well. Really, all that I did was explore and find some items, but like you go to one end of this sector that you're in and activate like a safety fail-safe kind of thing, and then go back through. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go through these areas anyway. As I look at the doors that open up, that's not going to be a problem. So get there, I save, I flip the switch. Monsters are out. There's really no way to defend yourself. From these monsters, and you die in very, very few hits. I was basically making, 5 minutes of progress at a time, dying, and then making 7 minutes of progress, dying. It was just clawing inch by inch. There's really no way to dodge because there's no sidestep to it. The ammo is incredibly limited. To the point where your pistol and a submachine gun that you get, they both use the same ammo.
Oh no!
And if I don't have enough to make a pistol work, why would I use the submachine gun that is here? But also, you cannot. You can only hold 2 weapons at a time, but it is a large weapon and a small weapon, so you cannot carry the pistol and the wrench at the same time. You can only carry the submachine gun and the wrench at the same time. So you have enough bullets to take out one enemy that can kill you in three-ish hits. And then you fall back to the wrench. The wrench, which takes a long time to charge before it will, do a full-size hit. Occasionally you can get in close to an enemy and get a hit off without getting hit. That doesn't help you with enemies that have enemies that have a projectile, which can just kind of shoot you from the end of a hallway. There's no way to strafe around it, and then you're down.
So is this the first like Fadian System Shock game then?
The first what? I'm sorry?
Fadian.
Oh, Bennett Foddy kind of thing? Doing the Bennett Foddy's getting over it. I don't know that they're attempting to do that. What I think is their understanding, the demonstrated understanding of, this is an old school game that will not hold your hand, is that it should be as hostile as possible. By the time by the time I realized that this was not a game that was designed to be played, I had already put in a bunch of time, and by that point, I had no faith that if I bumped down to the next lowest difficulty, that it was actually going to make that much of a difference for me. It did not feel like a thing that was worth continuing to stream, or that felt worth even playing on my own. It's still early. Like, it came out on the 24th of May, so it's like 2 weeks old or whatever. Like, maybe some of this stuff can be ironed out. And when you look at the videos of it, there's cool stuff that happens, cool little environmental puzzles you can do. But like, man, I said it earlier, the way to sum it up is this does not feel like a game that was designed to be played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Did it make for good content at least?
It depends on how much you like me getting real angry and then not talking a lot. Moxie, you were there watching this. How did it land for you?
I feel like you've kind of got it covered. Like, it looks it looks really cool. Like, I love what they're going for. I like the idea that I don't know if they make this explicit or if it's just implied, but that you're actually just kind of navigating like some sort of meat puppet.
Yeah, like when you die, it talks about like, oh, disconnected from blah blah blah, and there's a priest that you talk to who says who welcomes you, but when he sees that you're augmented in whatever way you are, he says like, oh, you've lost the grace of God or whatever. So there's something in the fiction there where like you are a worker who has been modified beyond humanity, but
right.
I didn't see where that went.
Yeah, so like I love what they're going for, but yeah, just from a gameplay standpoint. I'd almost even say, like, it looked like you're slowly making, like, a couple feet forward, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but that now I have half as much ammo or whatever, Like, honestly, it looked to me like what they probably should have done is, had, like, you respawn with full health and full ammo or something.
Yeah. It's a tough balancing act, right? If you're trying to make a product that is self-consciously a throwback, the ideal is to understand the way that game made you feel, whatever you're basing it on, and then try to replicate the way that it made you feel as opposed to, exactly how it was, right?
Yeah, you're going for vibes.
Yeah,
I mean, just to be fair, we don't know them. Maybe it made them feel bad.
Maybe, but that is a weird thing for them to decide to spend a couple years making and then put out for money. Maybe it made them feel bad, but it's like, Shovel Knight is not exactly like it's way more involved than an NES game could ever be. But when you sit down and play it, it's like, oh yes, this is what DuckTales/Zelda 2 feels like to me, right? Mm-hmm. There's an art to it, and I do not think that they have captured it. That is even above and beyond before you get to, like, if you go back and play one of these, there is hostility. Right? Like there's different save hygiene that you have to have. The not manually saving, that's part on me, but it's also part on them for never saying that there are no autosaves. A lot of games that opt to have no autosaves nowadays will tell you, like, hey, this is it only saves when you do, so please be careful. But if you go back outside of like the technical trappings and getting used to stuff, those games are meant to be played. Like they are really playable once you meet them on their terms. I do not know what the terms would need to be for this to feel like a really satisfying thing. And I feel bad saying this because, like, you look at the developer, it's like one person, so, but I gotta judge what I play, right? And it just wasn't a very good experience. So, yeah.
I think maybe a kind way to say it is like it could use more playtesting, or and maybe they didn't have the resources to do that. But.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that was not fixable by a good amount of tuning, right? Yeah, it just the numbers are laid out in such a way that it's very difficult to get both ends of the belt to meet for it, and that I think is a shame because, based on what I have read, what I have seen in the promotional materials, and even like the things that I saw, there's plenty to, feel like it's going to be cool when you get there, right? You just have to get there. And so the rough mechanics are really standing in the way of, of more people making the discovery and engaging with the material that's there, right? When I talk about like, oh, there's fun stuff. There are meaningful things that here, which is, Ben, you'll know this from playing VR games, how reloading is a chore in every VR game, right? Like, not a chore, but you have to factor that in.
It's involved.
Yes, yeah. Right. You have to drop the magazine. You've got to put in the new one, and then you have to rack the slide. Here, they have taken that, and it takes advantage of the fact that your cursor is moving around on your interface in a way that doesn't make you aim. When you want to reload, like, you have to drag the little magazine icon. Sorry, not magazine. Magazine icon up to wherever the bullet would go, and then you have to like rack the slide of whatever is there, and that's cool in a survival horror game. That kind of tricky reloading is additive to me, and it's neat to see that presented here. Problem is
importing reloading stress to non-VR games.
Yes. Yeah. That is a cool decision to me. The problem is, after you fire the first handful of bullets you get, you have nothing to do that with. I want more ammo to reload because the system is cool. Right?
Have you guys seen those meme videos like how to reload anything?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, God, those are amazing.
Game, yeah, we need a game that is just all reloading.
Yes.
nothing but that.
It's like almost a Dead Rising, like you grab random things and somehow use them as weapons after you reload them.
Oh, man, that would be amazing.
I don't even want to use it as weapons. I just want to grab something random, reload it, and on to the next.
That would be amazing in VR, and I would trust the What the Golf team to do that with my life. Yeah. Can I talk about the other thing that I played that actually is kind of cool?
Please.
Go for it.
It's weird. But I played a game called Arctic Eggs.
Steam is convinced I want to buy that.
I mean, I'll describe it, and you can see. This came to my attention because I follow a bunch of people who either make or write about PS1, PS2 throwback graphic kind of things from that like haunted PS1 demo disc kind of scene. Mm-hmm. This popped up in there, and this very much has that aesthetic. When I saw that it was in the horror tag on Steam, I was like, "Oh, cool! Two birds with one stone. I can play this game I'm curious about, and it qualifies as horror." There's unsettling stuff about this, but I would not call it horror. Like the final boss encounter is the only thing that is upsetting to look at in a way that is, not just off-putting because of the premise. This is set in a dystopia where you're living in a city in Antarctica where all kinds of food is contraband, and there is only one person who can cook eggs. And you have to.
Egg hero.
Yes, you are the poultry peddler. And, you have been given this sanction. It's a job that nobody lasts very long at, but you need to satisfy the hungry people, enough of them so you can make an appeal to the Saint of Six Stomachs in order to leave this, what is implied to be like a prison colony kind of place, right? So you're going around and you're talking to people who have these like real like acid hallucination looking kind of faces, features that are all like wobbly and indistinct. And all of them are saying this like really Dadaist, like Cruelty Squad, Lisa the Painful style dialogue to you while making weird animations. And then you have to cook for them. Your tool is a frying pan. Things cook while you are moving the frying pan. There is no fire. You move the frying pan with your mouse, and this kind of like rotates it like you are just manipulating a frying pan, right? Mm-hmm. And you start out just cooking eggs. And it makes perfect sense to cook the eggs. They fall into the pan, although sometimes because they are solid objects, they will land on their side, and it is very difficult to get them to. The way I said it on stream is they rolled a 0 on the 1d2. But everything that you cook, like you cook it on one side until it finishes, and then you have to, using this mouse interface, flip it so that all the food stays in the pan, but it lands on the other side and continues cooking. You cannot overcook things. However, there is time pressure in many cases added by the fact that they will also throw lit cigarettes into the pan.
Saw that.
Yeah, just like at Waffle House.
Yeah, and if the cigarette goes out, you fail and you have to start over again. If anything from the pan falls out, you have to start over again. Not the entire game, but that cooking challenge. And then new things are added, kind of special to each individual zone. And they are all different wrinkles on cook all of this stuff in one pan. You do not have a spatula. You need to flip things, possibly at different times, while keeping everything in the pan.
It's okay to spoil some of the things they throw in the
Yes.
pan. They threw bullets in the pan. I was losing it. They were exploding.
Yeah.
And in the trailer, it seems like that has the result you would expect it to have.
So it doesn't kill anybody. What it instead does, it is a little localized explosion that will, if the bullet is near any other food on your pan, it will blow it off of the pan.
It'll jostle your eggs.
I mean, to be fair, you can use gunpowder as seasoning.
You can. I do not think that it is especially well advised. I don't think it's something you would want to do. There are lots of things you could use as seasoning.
A new way for eggs to be peppered.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just looking at the videos. Yeah, the videos spoil a bunch of stuff that drops in there. But there's the bullets. So what do? You have to flip the bullets out of the pan before they go off and ruin everything else. That is not something. Those can leave the pan. It's fine. There'll be cockroaches, and they want the cockroaches cooked along with all the food, and the cockroaches are trying to escape. So you have to, again, flip. They're constantly trying to get out. You have to flip them so that they are in the air, or on their back at any given time. And you're doing this, again, it is very finicky. It is very difficult to, pan flip this stuff. No spatula. It's just with your subtle mouse movements. Move too little, nothing happens. Move too much, everything flies out of the pan. And so it becomes this little dexterity challenge. It's like the PS1 style 3D version of those old iOS games like Hamburger or Bacon or Pancake, where it's just how many times can you flip this pancake without the pancake flying off of it, right? Or those are fun little games. This is that, but with this Dadaist, kind of thing where you're cooking, blowfish, except the blowfish occasionally puff up and then they start bouncing around like basketballs. So you have to very delicately try to bounce them so they keep in the center,
Now you're playing with a ping pong paddle all of a sudden.
Yes. Yeah. It's super inventive, super neat. It is. I finished it in a little bit of an overtime stream. I think that I streamed for 2.5 hours when I normally stream for 2. Obviously, your time to value on this will vary about whether that is there, but I had fun, and I didn't do everything either. You only have to cook for 27 people. There's a whole little biome in this, a whole little room that I didn't see all the challenges in because I wanted to see the ending before I wrapped up for the night and for the weekend.
Mm.
Yeah,
it seemed awesome. The aesthetic of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I was making dinner while watching it, and I constantly had to check in and be like, "What is happening now?"
Yeah, I don't know, and it's obviously kind of a simple base skill, right? But it's difficult and complicated. But you do get it. You do, gain the skill of knowing exactly, with your mouse and with the sensitivity, how to predictably flip something, right? Or how to flip stuff that's only on one side.
So have you then tried to see if any of these skills have transferred over to real life?
Oh God, no! I'm so averse to cleaning up messes. Yeah, I've never been able
to. Dottie and Greta would appreciate it.
They probably would, but I don't want them to get sick. I don't want them to diarrhea all over my house and carpet. Yeah, I don't know how they would react to human food. They've never really had it. I gave them. I gave them.
You got to find a bullet guy to throw at you. So.
Yes. Yeah. No. I can't cook unless it feels really high stakes. Or high pork chops, depending on what's on sale.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to get you there.
I got it at the high stakes.
One final thing, just in terms of, this is funny. There is a difficulty mode, but the difficulty mode just changes what kind of pan you have. So easy difficulty is this really high-walled pan that is basically a wok. And the hard difficulty is something with basically no wall at all. That's like a skillet or a griddle. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Awesome touch.
Yeah. Arctic Eggs. I recommend it. It's neat. Even if we did spoil a couple of the like special challenges, there are many more in there. And I don't know. It's a neat little dexterity challenge.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's me. I had Sonar Shock, boo, and Arctic Eggs, yay.
Well, you could have just said that up front. We saved ourselves a lot of time.
Yeah. These episodes
like
can be
you've
way
got
shorter.
to have a Soviet punk theme, though, going.
A little bit, yeah. That was just a
Yeah.
coincidence. Yeah. So who wants to go next? Dennis, Moxie? Oh, sorry, what?
I was going to call out one thing. I wanted to call out that Steam says that if I like Arctic Eggs, I'd also like Subnautica. What? Okay.
It's hard for me to pin other games that would be in the... yeah, I don't know. That's hard.
They're both
it's just like
dystopias.
everyone is going to like Subnautica
Oh, okay.
on the platform.
Yes, that's true.
That's just the default, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah. Let's see.
I can. I have something that I guess is technically new.
Okay.
Although I've been negligent in bringing it up for a long time. Trackmania had its third new car type launch recently.
Oh.
So the Trackmania that I play, my forever game, is a 2020 reboot of a long-running series that has all these different variants. And I guess one of the variants that was most famous had 4 car types. The first being Stadium Car, which is what Trackmania 2020 is all built around. And then there were others in this original game that they are gradually introducing into Trackmania 2020. So, the Stadium Car was the first one. Then there was the Snow Car, which is a misnomer because it's kind of like a pickup truck looking kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's literally the worst thing to drive on snow.
Yeah, it is an interesting choice. Maybe because it's a French studio, they didn't think about it that much. I don't know. Maybe there's something in translation. There's a rally car, which came out a while ago, and the current campaign kind of features. And then this most recent one is the desert car. And if you think about that, like it is...
It's actually a camel.
yes.
Like a dune buggy.
Well, you would think.
Yes.
It's actually like a muscle car.
It seems like a terrible thing to drive on the sand.
It's like if you said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a snow car," and then provided a truck that was like if a golf cart got crossed with a pickup truck.
So
it's a muscle car. Yeah, these names have no relation to anything except I think the original game was like divided up by biomes. So whatever. So it's a muscle car. It's more top heavy than the other vehicles. So it's easier if you make too sudden movements, like cut too hard while you're going too fast, to actually roll the car, or at least get it up on 2 wheels. And it also has a little bit more of like a slidey, drifty feel when you're on surfaces like grass or dirt. So,
Okay.
It feels good to drive on desert terrain. Yeah, that works for a desert car, I guess.
It's a video games. They can make anything. It could just be a cube.
Yeah,
Enjoy your desert cube.
Yes.
Oh, the Elon Musk School of Car Design?
If we can make it cut off fingers, then we're in business.
Yes.
For now.
The day the Cybertruck comes to Trackmania is the day I stop playing. But yeah, so they as they've done with the other couple of car types, they put out kind of a mid-season introduction campaign that is all maps that feature the desert car and what it can do. It's kind of a showcase for its mechanics. And so that was fun to play through. And then I also have done some mapping, kind of tried making a map that features the car. And maybe it's just because I don't play Trackmania as like my only game, but as we've now gotten to the 4 cars from the original game, I really, really hope that there aren't more.
Okay.
And it's not because I don't enjoy the game. It's just, you got to think there were like 2.5 years of just the stadium car.
Yeah.
And the game had more than enough depth and interesting stuff you could do and different play styles because, there's a bunch of different surfaces you can be driving on. And so like that you got really, really familiar with this car, and there was a lot to master. And then the snow car, the rally car, and the desert car come out basically on a 3-month cadence.
Okay.
Where in under a year, we have 3 new car types, injected. And it's almost like I want to be able to marinate in the car types, but just haven't gotten that chance. There's too many new shinies popping up in the game. And so I've kind of, I know what to expect from the cars, but I certainly haven't mastered any of them, the new ones coming out. So yeah, I guess it feels a little too early to say like, yeah, these are all really good and interesting, or no, these feel wonky. Like it just like I need the time with them that I have with the original car to kind of make a judgment.
I was going to say that like the 4th car after 5 years of putting this game out, that seems like pretty good pacing. But if they've just been dumping them, here's my question: excuse me. Do track authors say like, hey, this is a snow car track. Hey, this is a stadium car track. This is a desert car track. Do they specify, or is it, we take all comers and there's like a meta for it?
That is probably very important to specify. No, every map you start out as the stadium car, and then there are actually like blocks put in the map that change the car type.
Okay.
And so they can put the block like directly on the starting point, so that you just start as a different car type, or they can put it like into the level. And there are even some maps, even in the campaign, where it's like, oh, do I take this route and be this car, or do I take that route and be the other car?
Yeah.
So there's. Oh, go ahead.
Kind of disappointing, honestly.
That you can't take any car to any track.
Yeah, like I feel like I would much rather. I don't know. I feel like video games are best when they aren't things that I can watch on ESPN. And so I like the games where it's like the lineup is like a pickup truck, Formula One, dirt racer, etc., all going at it.
Yeah, you want MotorStorm is
Yes.
what you're craving.
Yes.
And yeah, Trackmania is definitely not that, to where like if they let you take any car into the track, the community would just very quickly be like, oh, this is the optimal car for these reasons, and no one would play anything else. Not that, or maybe it would be stratified into like, oh, the best times for this car type and the best times for that car type. That could be interesting.
All right, so I'm making a note here. Community hates fun.
No, it's the Sonic problem. Community wants to go fast.
Okay. Sonic is in fact a problem.
Yes. Yeah. So the desert car, kind of I guess the thing that I've found most fun about it is that it can turn these like very fast relative straights into an interesting problem, because you are trying to avoid the top heavy tipping. So where like it's like, man, I've only got a small adjustment to make, but you like, because I need to make it very carefully because I'm going so fast, whether I make that adjustment like at the beginning of this or the end of this or somewhere in the middle of this, like that all feels like an interesting choice. And the way you set up your line and all that stuff depends on, being thoughtful about not shifting the momentum and either tipping the car or digging your wheels into the ground in a way that slows you down. And so, yeah, it's just, parts of the game where in other cars, I might just be like, all right, waiting for the next turn. In the desert car, I'm like, okay, I came into this a little bit off, so I got to adjust a little bit earlier. And that means you're kind of thinking about the geometry of the track in a different way.
Yeah.
Which, that's all you can ask for in a new car type is that it forces you to think about, the same areas of the game in different ways. And I can appreciate that. But yeah, that said, just let me learn these cars. Stop. I'm Lucy in the chocolate factory right now with new car types.
I'm just waiting for they need to add airplanes.
But
That would be interesting. Yeah, I'm sure there's a mod that lets you do that.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I would also be if I had been acclimated to this is a game that is very specifically about internalizing the way this one particular car works, like putting this car into my hands.
You're playing for hundredths and thousandths of a second,
Yeah.
as you get up the leaderboards. And so to have a completely new physics system dumped on you every 3 months is like, well, now I can only play for tenths of a second. No one wants to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting to see the game have a healthy user base. And in some, ways, I think the people who have been with Trackmania since the days of the original games are like, oh, good. Finally, these are in here. It's just those of us who came in that weird middle period that are feeling overwhelmed. Yeah. Trackmania Desert Car. Fun stuff.
How much of the meta is taken
over? Trackmania Desert Bus, which is where you're competing for, hours.
Yes.
How much of the meta is taken over by the new car? Like, are all the tracks that people put out just that new car, or can you kind of avoid it and just stick to the old stuff if you want to?
It's so funny. The Trackmania has many different games within it, right? And so there's your hardcore tech mappers that are going to ignore anything new in the game, and they're just putting together these highly technical maps using just stadium cars, and that's all they're ever going to do. And then you've got the people that there's a new shiny. I'm going to play with the new shiny. The new season of, they call it khaki, just kicked off. So tracks that have some weird trick or glitch or just insane element to them that it's like nigh impossible to finish. So the tracks are all set up to be like 5 seconds long. But you have to be absolutely perfect in a way that you really do have to be lucky. And they put out like 50 of these tracks and people race to see how fast you can get through them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The people doing that are having fun with the new stuff and all that. So the meta is weird to think about just because there's so many different, types of track that might have a meta going on at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's Trackmania.
Cool. Are you going to put more time into it? Like, obviously, you've been pretty in the game, so yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no way I can quit this addiction unless they put a Cybertruck in, and then
you start reevaluating.
Wean me right off of it.
Yeah.
I have continued playing Immortals of Aveum. All I want to say
Dennis,
is
this is a 5-hour game.
I keep on thinking, like, since I didn't know that until it came up on the episode, and then since then I've been being like, oh, this must be the end, and then it keeps on going. So I don't know. All I will say is that there's an extended sequence where you plan with your buddy what comeback you're going to use on the big bad.
Okay.
I can only say it's a misguided.
That actually sounds great.
Yeah, well, I can only say it's like a misguided attempt at like the insult sword fighting thing. Where like they offer you like, oh, we should put him down like this way or this way. And you pick that. And then, they offer you a couple like adjectives to go with it and you pick one of those. And then you get the voice line where you're like, I think I chose like you obsolescent blowhard or something like that. So
okay.
You get, so it's like, shut up, you obsolescent blowhard as they're practicing. And then you get to the actual boss fight and the boss is monologuing. And all your character does is shut the fuck up.
Okay,
and then the boss fight starts.
That's kind of funny. I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, so I have an apology to make. This is not a 5-hour game. It's 14 and a half. People exaggerated when they were talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to a
People
boss
on
fight.
the internet exaggerate? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that. There was also an extended scene of like the gang getting drunk together before the big fight, where people's level of drunkenness just undulated wildly based on whether or not they were delivering dialogue.
Okay.
So it's like they would, just be slouched and slurred, be like, actually, my father did tell me once. And then back to slurring and slouching.
Is there a scene where you were like drunkenly finger gunning, like, I don't know, just wrecking up the place or something?
Almost literally, yes.
At any point, does somebody say, "Oh no, you don't want a finger gun in this game? That would be terrible. Holy shit, that's how people die." Oh God.
Oh, sorry. No. There is though, like the the one in this drunken scene, the one lady who like her whole personality is that she is super racist against you.
Sorry, I thought you were saying in general. It's like this lady shows up, cracks your knuckles. I got something to say about people from Portugal. What?
I guess it's magicist, I guess, because you're a person. There's some proper noun soup that you are that she doesn't like.
Bigoted. Yeah.
Well, she like sobers up to give you a really touching monologue on why she's so racist. It's like, are we really rationalizing this right now?
That's like 2006 BioWare shit.
Yeah. Well, and then she finishes it with, I don't like what you are, but I like who you are.
Oh, so it's literally you're one of the good ones. Okay.
Yeah. And then the main character goes, that sounds kind of problematic, but thanks.
Oh God, they use the word problematic?
Yes.
That's for us to use, not... Ugh.
Yeah. In game, it's like you could have headed that off instead of cracked a joke about it. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
So...
I mean, just using the word is just saying, I don't think that's as good as you think it sounds.
Yeah,
like,
no.
If I can punch up this game from a studio that's not together anymore.
As previously established, wizards shouldn't say fuck. They also shouldn't say problematic. It turns out.
Would you say that it's problematic for them to say fuck?
I don't know. Like, I don't want. There are only certain. It should be exceedingly rare when somebody in fiction, especially genre fiction like that, talks like somebody on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it is all Twitter speak. Twitter speak all the way down, and then they keep on like they randomly introduce. There's like an ancient society that was super powerful and then went away. It's like the Atlanteans or whatever. And they just randomly bring up that there was a society before them that you get this massive walking tank from that has never been mentioned before. Everyone just accepts that, like, for some reason, okay, this is from an earlier society. I guess this is too powerful for the super powerful society before, and then it's not addressed ever again. So yeah, it's this is turning into the most beautiful, campy, like The Room as a video game that I have ever played. I think my desire for this game would be that the big reveal is the reason you're doing like finger guns throughout this whole thing is that this society like solved all its problems via rock, paper, scissors or something. Yeah, I'm sure there's lore in there somewhere. So it is entertaining. Okay. I won't say it's good, but it is very entertaining.
Entertainment matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been playing.
Cool. Moxie, how about you?
Man, I've still been playing Warframe, but
you're out of stuff to say about it?
Well, the problem is I'm kind of doing a lot of the some of the busy work that I've kind of skipped while I was off. There's a whole thing where your operator, you get like a alternate form of XP that you can spend on basically your magical powers.
Okay.
And, they're split up into a couple of classes, but then there's several skills to each class that you can unlock and then use with any class. So I've just been going through and unlocking those.
Is Warframe thinly veiled Bitcoin mining? I just, the more I hear, the more I think it's thinly veiled Bitcoin mining.
I mean, I have not seen any NFTs yet, and I'm pretty sure that it's, like they used to believe that that like rotting meat spontaneously spawn bugs. I'm pretty sure Bitcoins spontaneously spawn NFTs.
The fan base of Warframe doesn't strike me as being especially receptive to that kind of shit. So, yeah,
Maybe.
I mean, it just sounds like game as a service MMO stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so back on how you were fighting the neo-futurist Tarragons. Wait a second.
Yeah, so honestly, just have been doing that stuff. There's not a lot of super interesting stuff to talk about with that respect, honestly.
Game like that, sometimes you rearrange the fridge, right?
Yeah,
I sit down to play Baldur's Gate 3. Sometimes a session is just me organizing the inventory and making sure the right people have the right potions,
Exactly.
So
the next
Anything
thing
to avoid cleaning my actual house.
Well, I do that too. But
I'm just speaking for myself here.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So the next thing I've got is I've got one more story mission that I still need to beat, and so I'm interested to see how that makes the plot line less comprehensible, because that's how Warframe do.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, you'll get there.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people this week?
Yeah, we're going to talk about mods and community-created content, which more and more games have, either as a central focus or just as something that they open up for players to mess around with. So, be it maps, skins, or whole new games, what are your favorite ways that players have added to the games they love?
Yeah. I'll get a start with Callum, who says, Command & Conquer Renegade had an awesome total conversion mod called Renegade Alert. They managed to get ships, submarines, and helicopters to work in an engine that supported none of these. The best multiplayer community I was a part of. Man, it's been forever since I thought about Command & Conquer Renegade.
Have you guys done a WAF on it?
No. We've not done any Command & Conquer. We did Command & Conquer Red Alert 3.
With Tim Curry?
Yes. Yeah, we did that on Abject Suffering because somebody wanted us to talk about the cutscenes. Command & Conquer Renegade, for people who are unaware, that is the first-person shooter they developed in some version of the Command & Conquer world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I want to say it was, my understanding, super innovative for its time. Has some actual real-time strategy elements or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's. I'm not particularly sure about that. It was made by Westwood, and Westwood is no slouch. They did the Blade Runner game. There's a Dune game that is pretty well regarded under them. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm not surprised to hear that there is innovation in the game. I am surprised to hear that game had enough purchase with a community in order to have a mod that thorough.
Yeah.
Let's see, Moxie, what does Kian say?
Kian says, Portal 2 Map Maker is great fun and really easy to use. And of course, plenty of people have dug into the code to create some really remarkable full game expansions as well.
Yeah. I never fucked around with that, but I like anything where you're making the game inside of something that approximates the engine of the game.
Was Portal 2 also made in Source Engine so it can pull in all the other shit?
I'm not sure about the Portal 2 Map Maker implementation of it. Yeah. Ben, are you aware? You're more Portal 2 pilled than all of us.
I think it's the Source Engine, but my memory of the different iterations of the engine that they put Counter-Strike on are fuzzy. So
yeah, but Portal 2 is definitely Source Engine. I believe it was the first Source 2 game, maybe. But
I didn't realize there were multiple sources.
yeah, it is evolved. But when I think of the map maker, like there's the source SDK where you can make portal maps, but then there's like the in-game engine map maker that is meant to be more accessible.
Okay.
I don't know if you can pull in like striders into that. Let's see, Ben, what does Bree say?
Bree says, spent way too much time on conch jump maps in Team Fortress Classic. You use the concussion grenades available to the scout and meta classes to launch you into the air and across distances in platforming challenge maps. I can never master the most difficult maps, but I got pretty good at many of the ones I'd tried. And there was a wide variety of maps of all skill levels available.
There was a whole genre. Okay, so sorry. Somebody mentions EverQuest or Team Fortress Classic. It is a direct tunnel to a zone where I bore everybody. Sorry,
It's a borehole.
yeah, it's a borehole. Team Fortress Classic had all these really cool, like trainer maps almost. Like there were aim trainers, which are like a thing, but like there are training maps that play with the particular, just kind of physics engine hacks that ended up happening about this, with the idea being that like, okay, these skills are available in the game. We need to, if you want to get really good at doing conch jumps, here's a set of like obstacle challenges for you to do, to say like, okay, this jump is technically possible, figure out a way to do it. They had this similarly for, rocket jumps, and then ones for demo jumps. Demos would shoot pipe bombs that could be remotely detonated. And that was different even than rocket jumps or conch jumps. So Bree is onto some, again, very Kole specific science with this.
That kind of reminds me of the where they call it like ski maps on Counter-Strike Source.
What maps? Sorry,
I think ski maps, something like that. There's something where like in Source Engine, there's a glitch where if you strafe into a slanted wall, you would stick to it while sliding forward or something.
Faster than you could run, probably.
Yeah. And so it was this whole thing where like you would just, be flying through this stage on what's effectively like a Hot Wheel map.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, you're giving me like Tribes vibes.
Oh, Tribes and skiing, yeah. Dennis, what does Peter say?
Peter says, I haven't directly participated with any of community content, so my answer isn't completely viable. However, if I may, I've watched many streams and YouTube videos of people playing with said community content. I can't say much, but I distinctly recall watching a YouTube video of someone playing a modded version of Dark Souls 3, where instead of fighting with weapons, the goal was to capture enemies and then use them in place of fighting with weapons. And Dennis, is this a Dark Souls auto battler? I wish I knew the name of the mod, but it was really exciting and a treat. Almost pulled me back into my gotta catch 'em all side. Side note / question for the show: what are your favorite monster collecting franchises? Personally, for me, I've come to like Shin Megami Tensei and Persona spin-offs myself.
I didn't know those were monster collectors.
Yeah. You're collecting demons and stuff with those. Yeah. Well, and like the Persona spinoffs are more directly monster battler kind of things. I don't go especially deep on these. I'm just going to say Pokemon. If somebody has to say it, I'll say it.
I'm going to call Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay.
Damn it.
Moxie, I know yours.
Yeah, Dragon Warrior Monsters.
Oh, shit. Okay, no, I thought it was going to be Imagination.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no. Oh, shit. Why would you do this to me? How could you?
Sorry. I
Guess
didn't
Moxie isn't up on their Moxie lore.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. The way I'm going to save myself is they only made one game, and they technically asked for a series.
Okay, all right. It was more of a card battler too, but in the fiction, it was monster battling.
Yeah. Right. And you did have to catch your cards.
You did, yeah.
I would say Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Wish.
Okay.
White Witch, wow.
Yeah. Good answer. Let's see. David writes, I don't know if this counts or not, but playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on an emulator was one of the best experiences I've had. I did my original playthrough on the Switch and found myself frustrated by a lot of the mechanics in the game, mainly the stamina meter and weapon durability. It really made me not want to go out and explore or do anything else other than the main quest lines. However, when I played it emulated, not only was it in higher resolution and 60 frames per second, but there were options to have infinite stamina and infinite weapon durability, and it turned the game into something completely different for me. I absolutely loved the game with those settings, or mods in this case. I would say that counts. That appreciably changes it enough, and somebody in the community had to make that. Yeah,
I cannot fathom who it is that implemented the whole weapon durability, especially like the whole sliding on your shield decreases their durability.
Sliding on the shield decreasing it is a bad call. I am in favor of the weapon durability, but I understand that is a controversial opinion, and it's also one I cannot readily justify.
Yeah,
it is a choice.
Yes. Let's see. I did that one. Moxie, what does Rosanna say?
Rosanna says, I think the only game I ever really modded was near launch Skyrim. First real computer game I had. It was the first and most I've ever scrolled through Nexus mods. As for community content, the Steam Workshop for Stellaris was by far the most content I've consumed.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even imagine. Like, Stellaris, just the official content for that is insane. I cannot imagine what it would be once you start adding in community stuff.
Oh, well, I mean, endless.
It has to be that there are at least a couple mods where someone's like, oh, I really want this in the game, and they just hadn't encountered it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah. Let's see. Moxie, what does Maniac say? Oh, sorry. No, you just did Rizana. Ben, what does Maniac say?
Maniac says, I met my longest friendships through Little Big Planet 2, which was a lot more diverse in what you could do and as a social hub than it may seem. Very sad that Little Big Planet 3 was somewhat of a flop and Media Molecule is now gone. Dreams was interesting, but didn't have the social base and felt lonely, even if everything you played was made by somebody you could theoretically talk with.
They botched Dreams so badly by never explaining what the fuck it was.
Yeah. I wonder too, Little Big Planet 2 was kind of peak LBP, and you had your own little pod that you kind of launched and browsed and whatever from, that you could decorate and have people in. And so when they talk about, forming friendships and being able to interact, that's what I think of. And I don't know of anything like that existing in Dreams.
Yeah, no clue.
Until somebody makes it in Dreams.
Right, yeah.
Not anymore, probably. I haven't checked. Nobody has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dennis, what does Grumpy Grizz say?
They say, like many, I've installed tons of mods for Bethesda Fallouts and Elder Scrolls games, but the best mods I have ever used in years are for Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley Extended and other mods took a game I already loved and added more of everything. Likewise, there are so many quality of life mods that allow me to customize the game or skip some parts I don't want to do on a new farm.
Yeah. I wish that there was some kind of like bootstrap kind of version of bringing mods to console, because I cannot imagine sitting down to a computer to play Stardew Valley. Just that doesn't compute for me. But it would be nice to have some of those available in the Switch version. But I understand why that can't happen.
Yeah.
Primarily because of all the nasty sex mods that would be possible.
Yeah, because Nintendo is the problem.
Yes. I maybe I have no idea. I don't know. I have never thought of playing Stardew on anything that wasn't the Switch. So yeah.
I've got a friend through tabletop gaming that otherwise had never really heard them talk much about video gaming, and we got on the concept of like your forever game. And she's like, "Oh yeah, for me it's Stardew Valley. I play with a ton of mods." I was like, "Oh yeah, what do you do?" And she kind of hesitates. She's like, "Well, you can only marry one person in the base game." So I was like, "Oh, say no more."
Okay, cool.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No, I gotcha. This is obviously making you uncomfortable to say, but I support you. Yeah.
I turned Stardew Valley into RimWorld.
Yes.
And
Go ahead.
never mind.
No, my answer is obviously going to be Dark Souls and FromSoft randomizer mods. Even I'm just going to say randomizer mods in general. I really, this is a drum that I beat for years. We've done it on Bonfireside Chat. I had that whole Duck stream that I did that was Resident Evil randomizers, which was real fun. They really changed the game quite a bit. Sometimes it's made into something bullshit and unwinnable, but it is always entertaining, in my opinion. And if there is a randomizer mod for a game, I am pretty much always interested in it. Other stuff that I've done that I've maybe spent more hours in are like mods to restore lost content or just quality of life. You know, like it would be difficult for me to think of playing a Morrowind without an interface mod, which is good because Morrowind is a good game that I don't want to leave behind just because Bethesda made a bad interface for it. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to say, I'm going to be boring, say randomizer mods.
Hey, fine by me.
Yeah. Moxie, how about you?
I don't know if this counts, but I think I'd say use map setting games for StarCraft.
Okay.
Just so for people who haven't played these, like, the original StarCraft had a basic scripting system. And, those scripts would only fire if you were playing in a mode called use map settings. And a lot of these ended up being, this is where, like, all the Defense of the Ancients came from. People would do, like, action RPGs. There's one that was, like, cat versus mouse, where one player is a unit that just, can, like, one-shot all the other players. The other players are mice who they're much more small and agile. Just all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those are cool. I never played around with a lot of them. The most like user-generated map stuff I did was like obviously like Big Game Hunters or whatever, which is not a hunting game. It's just a really boring multiplayer map. Yeah, Ben, how about you?
Yeah, it's a Star Wars game that I don't remember the name of. I know it came out for PC, and I know it came out after Episode 1 was released. But I know that you could make custom maps on it, and so I know I spent like a summer remaking like the beginning of Episode 1 in this game form, and like made a modded map for it. So I think that's...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh yeah, I think that's the deepest I ever went in like content creation within a game engine.
Yeah. What kind of game was it? Was it a first-person shooter?
It might have been a real-time strategy. And yeah, it might be
Battlegrounds.
I'm on a wiki page right now of a list of Star Wars games, and even from that, I can't find it exactly. It might be Star Wars Force Commander, but I don't remember 100%.
Yeah. No, this wiki page, I'm on the same wiki page as you, Ben, and it's divided up into like, oh, this is based on this movie. There is no strictly chronological list, which is a wild decision for them to make. That's the second Star Wars game that was indistinct that came up this week.
Yeah, that sounds like Star Wars.
Yeah. Dennis, how about you?
These Star Wars games are starting to be like Star Wars TV shows, all just coming out completely.
Nobody has time for it.
Yeah. So for me, I have to go way, way back. The first PC game I ever had was Moto Racer. And, as a kid, I jumped at the chance to get Moto Racer 2 when it came out. And that had, to this day, the most intuitive map creation system that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Where literally it would show kind of a blueprint style, look at the map, and you would literally just click and drag sections of it, and click to place a new node that you could drag, and it would automatically smooth out the curves to form a map. You could raise and lower sections of the track, and kind of you just drew the shape that you want. So if you think about like Formula One tracks, and like a lot of people know the iconic shapes of those tracks, you were basically just making that, and then it would automatically kind of skin those with the terrain that it had. And you can kind of choose like, oh, I want this to be in winter, or I want this to be through the woods, or what have you.
Yeah.
And first off, just having access to that, and then second off, seeing like, oh, this game has unlimited maps that I can just go and get, was absolutely eye-opening.
Yeah.
So yeah, lost way more time creating and consuming in that than I care to admit, even by little kid obsession standards.
You should find like a driving or racing game that has like a map editor where you can get unlimited maps at some point. That sounds like a thing you should really recapture.
It might be something that I enjoy. Yeah. So that planted seeds that clearly have sprouted in my life.
How so?
Later on.
No.
Yeah. Right. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
I would if I could.
I had maybe you had spoken about it before, but I am unaware of Moto Racer. Looks neat. It's motocross. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a wild story that we got this PC in our house, and my parents being very sheltery, we're like, we're not going to have any games on this. All right, there's not going to be games on this computer. I'm like, okay, fine, no games. And then literally in the box, the Motor Racer came with the PC. And I don't know if someone slipped it in there, or that was like a with purchase thing that happened, but that was enough to break the seal. And they were like, okay, fine, and got me into a whole new world. So fun stuff.
Ben has found the game that Ben was talking about. It was Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. I remember that game. The Gungans sucked so bad. They had the only shelters that you could build underwater, but they were mostly just terribly annoying.
Yeah. That's Gungans for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sounds like they were true to the lore.
All right. That's multiplayer. Thank you so much, everybody, for responding. Thank you, Dennis, for posting. If you would like to participate in these, go to the Duckfeed community group on Facebook and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The End Boss.
Now it is time for the Unboss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games and how we feel about them. Let's see. Ben, what is the story that you have for us?
Well, I have one nice one and one not nice one, and I think I'm choosing anger today, y'all.
Okay.
Ben woke up and chose violence.
It's not an article or anything. It's just a screenshot from Reddit, and it's on. I guess I could look up an article about it. It's the new pricing model in Multiversus, the fighting game. It's just a screenshot of buy one life, 49 coins. Refill all lives, 1,004 coins, or whatever the economy is in game.
Yeah, and they sell these by the 1,000, right?
Yeah, of course, with the 1004. And just being like, this is the future of video games, and it's just like, dear God. I'm not sure what the total opinion or feedback is from the gaming community about this sort of thing. I had heard, like, in passing about a pricing change on the game, and because I guess Multiversus, we never really talked about it. I know they've had, like, 2 iterations of it at least.
With Multiversus, Warner Brothers has created the perfect machine for tripping over dicks. It will trip over 1,000 dicks per minute if you let it.
It depends on how much you put into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no thank you.
Don't put your dick in the machine.
No. It's pretty clear. It's labeled. Yeah.
This is like, it's like magic-izing games, I guess. And it's like, no. Do not do that, please. Or if you do, you need to have something as addictive as magic to back it up.
But just pay to get extra lives in a single player
game. Yeah,
it's bad. It's bad behavior. Like you bring this up, around the time that the Dragon's Dogma 2 came out and there was controversy around the microtransactions and that, like, you would say, like, hey, this is bad behavior. And then people would come out of the fucking woodwork to say, aha, but you liked this other game where this was technically an option the whole time, and therefore, haha. No, I can call it bad behavior. Like, if you're mad at me about something different, be mad at me about that. Don't come at me with like hypocrisy. Kind of that is also bad behavior. None of you are without sin.
I reject your ad hominem.
It's not just that this is in a multiplayer game, but it is in the single player mode of a game that is overwhelmingly focused on the multiplayer component.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, people are doing you a favor by playing the single player mode anyway.
Yeah.
And you're going to stick this in their face?
The only thing that would be tackier is if you got an extra life, like you could respawn if you watched an ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put any ideas out into the ether.
Sorry, it's already out there. Like, it's just a mobile game thing.
Yep.
I'm just surprised they haven't canceled it as a tax write-off.
Oh, it's Warner's. It's Warner. There's still time.
The Batgirl DLC is actually the one part of this that I'm excited for.
Yeah, weirdly, it's the one thing that'll release. Dennis, what's happening with PS2 VR?
Yeah, so I guess Sony is taking their open mentality about software coming to PC and applying it to their hardware. So they have been talking about plans to bring PSVR 2 to PC, and PSVR 2 being kind of the upgraded version of their original VR goggles. And it's, by all accounts, a very solid system. It shifts the camera to be on board. The controllers are excellent in terms of, that their whole thing was haptic feedback. So the VR controllers are no exception. And just in general, like really top of the line VR headset. But you needed a PS5 to play it, which meant you were making two $600 purchases. That's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming to PC. They're selling a $60 adapter that allows you to plug it into your PC. And you can use the headset for VR just like any other headset. So that's exciting. This is launching in August. I have been holding off on getting a PS5 or a PSVR 2 for the longest time. My mentality was like, eventually they have to put out a VR bundle where I can get the headset and the console in one fell swoop. Apparently they are just, morally opposed to that because they've never done it. However, this might push me over the edge and make it worthwhile to pick one up.
Yeah.
So this story translates to me $120 to get Half-Life Alyx in August, and I am 2 thumbs up for that.
Yes. Half-Life Alyx is an amazing game. Play it however you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for those who have a PSVR 2, it's I think a $60 adapter, and then you're good to go. I'm guessing, Ben, you're adding the cost of buying the game?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Color
Smart
me
man.
surprised that they're not gouging for more on this. Actually.
Yeah, I can only imagine that the adapter is so simple that any attempt to charge more, people would very quickly be like, "Wait a second, this is 2 rubber bands and a piece of string. What the hell?"
That has never stopped a tech company from doing that in the past, though.
Fair enough.
We covered a story of somebody open source having the PSVR on a PC a while ago, but I don't think they've released it like a general version of it yet.
Yeah, I would very much rather have the official hardware version of that because that software can break. But
Same.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say a couple things. Some of the fancier details that will remain specific to playing it with PS5. So HDR, headset feedback, eye tracking, and adaptive triggers are not going to be supported on PC. That said, there aren't really PC games out right now that use those things.
Yeah.
Because this will be the first time that there's a headset that does that stuff. At least to my understanding, someone could come out and say I'm wrong on that.
A mass market one anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this might mean though is that even though it's not officially supported, people could start finding ways to use those things in the future where they will show up. So it feels like a forward-looking purchase as well.
Yeah. That is great. That is a really great way for them to make the PS VR 2 not like a complete stay away from this kind of thing. It is a bummer that it has to be wired, like it is very nice with a Quest to be able to just use the Steam Link app and then have access to it. However, if you are not used to wireless and suddenly this $550 thing becomes, I can use this to access, in my case, a shitload of Steam VR games that I got in bundles for one way or another, like, hell yeah. Immediately get on this if you happen to have it. There's literally there's no other option. It brings so much more value to this thing you already bought.
Yeah, and I expect Sony will be handsomely rewarded for this. I would love to see this approach more so than the cut things for tax write-offs approach. Like, yes, please.
Also, the system requirements are not as stringent as I thought they would be.
Very surprising. GTX 1650 or later.
Yeah.
It's a 1.6.
A 7th generation Core i5 is what they're looking at, and 8 gigabytes of RAM. Like, obviously, you need to be able to run the game. That might be lower than particular games. I don't know what the stats on Half-Life Alyx are. However, like, just out of the box, what that tells me is the little adapter isn't doing too much aside from routing the DisplayPort kind of stuff around. But, like, to run basic stuff, and if you don't necessarily care too much about the settings, like, you don't need a monster PC in order to, like, take a stab at it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's good. Rare W by Sony. Yeah. It's appropriate that we talked about the user-generated content stuff this episode because my story is all about mods for Baldur's Gate 3.
Ooh.
Yes. There has been some mod support for Baldur's Gate 3. There are mods you can get in order to do a little bit of quality of life improvements. There's some things that you can see. Problem is, it's a bit of a pain in the ass in order to get those to work. However, with the patch that released today, there is currently alpha support for like mods to be developed to just be brought in and installed directly. So like inside of Baldur's Gate 3, you can download and manage the mods. You can manage multiplayer save game files like through an in-game UI. So like what I'm led to believe is like nothing is inherently made possible by this that wasn't already possible. It is just made way more accessible. So it's alpha support now, and I think sometime in September, the full patch, I think it's patch 7, is going to bring it out. But yeah, this is cool. I have no idea how much like new content mod is going to be put in there, but my guess is like not zero, and quality of life is always is always welcome. Yeah. So cool. I like that this is happening.
I will say I've seen some of these mods, and like some of them tell you what the results are of your dialogue, which is awesome in some cases. And then some of them tell you when somebody wants to talk to you at camp, which is awesome as well.
Also,
yes,
also very good. So that you do not like, if there is story to advance and you are hoarding your long rests, that is available to you.
There's hoarding the literally unlimited resource.
Yes.
Actually, I think one of the more recent patches added in that alert that people want to talk to you at camp.
I haven't seen that directly. There are there are icons when you are in camp if somebody has dialogue for you, but there's not an icon that says like, "Hey, on long rest, something is going to happen overnight."
Got it. Okay.
There are also. Sorry.
Well, I might have confused the icon in camp for one you could see out.
Yes.
Honestly, that's the whole problem of like missing dialogue or that sort of thing. It's kind of crazy to me that that's still a thing that happens.
Yeah.
The devs are like, it is so easy to long rest. There is no penalty for it. We're making it as accessible as possible. It's literally a button press with no downside. So we feel pretty confident that players aren't going to like be really stringent about it and maybe miss some stuff.
Yeah.
They'll probably be in there every other minute.
Right.
They
no.
just need
People are
to
going to optimize.
They just need to implement, like, every so often you get ambushed by kobolds with, like, sleep darts.
But this was a bone of contention early on, Dennis, when you were talking about maximizing the time between rests, and I was like, "So what stops you from resting? Like, is there a yeah?" And you were like, "No,
it's like master ball syndrome or something like that, where it's like I just need to hold on to this for longer.
Yeah,
like I can keep going."
Well, it's too good to use system when you're literally talking about garbage food that you can find in every container. Yeah. And look, there's other stuff too. Like there's dialogue mods that you can get. There are mods that I've seen that like will gender swap party NPC characters. So like if you would rather have a romanceable female Gale, then you can have that, right? Like I like Gale's story, aesthetic, whatever, but I want them to be female. Then boom, there you go. You have it there. It's cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, yeah, Gale even is a very easy name to gender swap. You don't have to change anything there. And then I was like, well, actually, like, okay, Shadowheart, completely androgynous. Lae'zel, I have no point of reference for. Will maybe is the only major character where that would be even a consideration.
Maybe, but like,
but it's spelled in a weird way.
Is Lae'zel a lesbian?
I mean,
Sorry,
everybody.
That was the best I had. I'm sorry.
Every companion in Baldur's Gate 3 will fuck whatever you are, but also they express interest in other characters. So, like Lae'zel, if you do not sleep with her at camp when you finish the Act 1 kind of big climax scene, like she will express interest in Astarion if he's still alive, right? Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is about a big messy polycule just rolling across the countryside. So,
isn't that all D&D campaigns?
Yeah, murder.
Oh man. So yeah, this is cool. I'm excited to see what kind of bubbles to the top. This motivates me to do other replays. Not like I'm doing several plays for a show at this point right now, but
this legitimately makes me feel like I want to buy it on PC just so I have access to like all the mods.
What's funny is with Larian, there's no guarantee that they will not bring popular mods to the console version.
True,
because they did that with Divinity Original Sin, like. The console versions, at the very least, had like a special options menu that allowed you to activate very popular quality of life mods on it as well. So do not rule that out. Yeah. And Moxie, you told me at the start that you did not have a story. So, okay.
Actually, I realized I do kind of have one.
You've made a fool of me.
Liar!
I've got to keep you on your toes.
Okay.
No, so a game has been released called Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mainly just wanted to raise it because it seems like one that Ben might like, because it's asymmetric PvP EV.
It's from the Friday the 13th people, I believe.
Yeah, it's a Friday the 13th like. It seems like the biggest thing that seems different and interesting is there's 3 villains this time around, all kind of doing. So there's an element of coordination, even if you're playing as the monster.
Another big thing, just looking at the preview of it, is it looks like you can bring people back after they die as well, which is something that was kind of missing in Friday the 13th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You reminded me by revealing me to be a clown. Not a killer clown, just a clown. There's also a thing on Humble right now. This is just a PSA for everybody. There's a bundle of Delta Green source books that is there for like $18. You can get some really good Delta Green source books, including my favorite source book that I point people to all the time, Delta Green the Labyrinth, which it's like a modern enemies and allies book that has one of the best interpretations of Hastur stuff, King and Yellow stuff that I've seen. So that is.
Would you say
Okay.
Is this are these pen and paper books that would be worth it if you were probably never going to actually play the game, but just wanted to like read lore and stuff?
Oh yeah, that's my sole use case for pen and paper books. I have a huge collection just to read for the lore. Yeah, this stuff is really good.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Labyrinth, Impossible Landscapes. Obviously, I'm real king and yellow pilled, but yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff for like $18. So, wouldn't normally talk about a bundle, but this is too good to not talk about.
Yeah, one of my favorite actual play podcasts is in the Impossible Landscapes campaign.
Oh, it's so good.
And holy shit. Yeah, they the stuff that's in it is great, and then frequently they're like, yeah, I mean there's so much stuff that we never even got to, or like you guys completely missed, that is amazing.
Yep.
So that is the one thing I've already sought out to browse is Impossible Landscapes.
Yeah.
Excited to hear there's more.
Yeah. All right, that's everything. We did so many extra stories. How does everybody feel about buttoning it up?
Buttons. The credits.
Oh my!
I like that. Thank you so much for listening to level number 503. We appreciate you taking the time. If you want to help out the network, you know what to do. Support us on Patreon. If you want to help out the show, tell your friends, leave a rating or review. Participate in the multiplayer by going to the Duckfeed community group on Facebook. All of that is nice and welcome. Dennis, you're going to be at Origin here soon, right?
I'm going to be at Origin, and because this comes out on Friday, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's going to be at Origin, if that's okay. So Deck of Wonders is getting its first expansion.
What?
Yes,
This is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's not like I spam you guys with art that I'm excited about to share. But yes, the expansion is called The Master of Dungeons, and features a new villain, new card type, and new mechanics that will spice up play. I'm super excited as the behind the scenes work is starting to come to fruition. So come see me at booth 1919 at Origins, and then just keep your eyes peeled for news about the Deck of Wonders reprint and Master of Dungeons expansion.
Excellent.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to try and make it down there for Origin. I don't have a lot of interest in tabletop. It's just been a while since I've seen you, buddy.
Yeah, come hang out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sounds like an episode to me. If okay, sorry, no, reset. I've been Kole Ross. Sorry, this has been Little. I've been Kole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Kole Ross. I'm a huge mess today. Sorry.
It's final couple yards are always the furthest.
Yeah. Who's gonna go next?
Oh, I thought we were just going to reset overall, but no. It's
no, it's fine. No edits here.
You need to pay $15 for another reset, so we'll keep on trucking.
Yeah.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Blue Sky at Furia Games. You can find me at Origins, booth 1919. And you can find Deck of Wonders, The Master of Dungeons, coming out soon.
I am Moxie.
And I've been Ben Merkel.
And stick around for some titles.
Actually have a few this time.
Oh, cool.
You find where I wrote them down.
Oh, well, that's a problem. I've got the two here. I've got Depending on What's on Sale. And Sonic is, in fact, a problem.
I mean, truer words never spoken. I have General Purpose Nerds and Marinate in the Car Types.
Okay.
I had two as well.
Okay.
I had High Stakes, spelled Steaks, of course.
Okay.
And then I also had a Big Messy Polycule rolling across the countryside.
I'm just going to shorten that to a Big Messy Polycule.
Mm-hmm.
In keeping with the pattern, I had 0 titles.
Okay. Yeah, no repeats.
I like High Stakes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do High Stakes.
If only this was the
Maybe?
420 episode.
I'm a sucker for puns. We're 10 episodes away from a Cincinnati episode.
Oh, nice.
513.
Oh, yes, we are, aren't we? Sorry, you threw me off with the... oh, yes, no, it is 503. There we go. Yeah, I like high stakes. That's what my depending on what's on sale thing is from. I obscured it because of the pork chops joke. But
Aha,
yes.
I see.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it is decided.
Excellent. And yeah,